Good morning, boys and girls. It's good to see you. Pastor Roy here coming to you from Grove Kids. We normally get together every Sunday morning, and today, of course, we can't because of the whole virus thing and all that. But we're coming to you via video today. Me and my friend Flip.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Flip, do you see the boys and girls?
I don't see anybody. There's nobody here. Just you.
Well, there's me, but the boys and girls, look right out there. Look real close.
Oh, there they are. They're in their living rooms.
Yes, some of them are in their living rooms.
Eating cookies and chocolate milk.
I don't know if they're eating cookies and chocolate milk, but we're here today, and we're going to talk about something that's near and dear to most of our hearts, something that we're all dealing with right now, especially in this crazy time that we're living through.
What's that?
Well, that's worry and fear, and the fact that we need to learn to be content in all things because God has everything in control.
He does?
Yeah. Matter of fact, you came out today and you was telling me that you have a fear of something.
Oh, that's right. I have a fear.
What is your fear?
I have a fear of heights. I'm scared to fly.
You're afraid to fly.
That's what I said. I'm scared to fly.
Okay, you're afraid to fly.
That's what I said.
Okay. By the way, tell the boys and girls what your name is.
My name is Flip Flop.
You're Flip Flop, like the shoes we wear?
Well, sort of, kind of. I got that name because when I was real little, just a little bitty bird in a nest, Mama kicked us out to see if we could fly.
Your mom kicked you out to see if you could fly?
Yeah!
What happened?
I flipped and flopped all the way to the ground, and I hit with a thud.
You hit with a thud. Well, so because of that, that's why they call you Flip Flop.
That's right, and because of that, I'm afraid to fly. I walk everywhere.
You walk everywhere. You're a bird that won't fly. All birds should fly.
No, not all birds fly.
Well, that's right. There's penguins and ostriches and stuff. But birds like you're a cockatoo. All cockatoos fly.
Not me. I walk everywhere, and man, my legs get tired.
Well, you shouldn't have to walk. You should fly.
I can't. I'm afraid.
You don't have to be afraid.
Yes, I'm afraid to fly. You know what they call a bird that's afraid to fly?
What do they call a bird that's afraid to fly?
Chicken. They call me chicken.
You're not a chicken.
Yes, I am. I'm afraid to fly. You know what you call a chicken that's crossing the road?
What do you call a chicken that's crossing the road?
Poultry in the ocean. Get it? It's a bird joke.
Okay, I get it, but it's not that funny.
Oh, it was really funny.
Well, okay.
It was funny, wasn't it, guys?
All right, well, anyway. Today we're talking about the fact that God loves us. He loves each one of us. We talked the last time we were together. We talked about the fact that God knows everything about us because He created us. He even knows every hair on our head.
Every hair on our head?
Yes.
Even Pastor John's head?
Yes, even Pastor John's head. He has no hairs on his head. All right, now stop it. Anyway, yes, God does know everything about us. He knows every hair on his head. He knows the color of our eyes. He knows how tall we are, how short we are. He knows everything about us. And because He created us, He cares for us. Matter of fact, the Bible tells us that He cares for us so much that there's not a thing in life He won't provide for us.
Oh, really?
That's right.
Even a new car? I need a new car because I'm tired of walking.
Well, no, not necessarily a new car, but all of our needs and everything that we have that is good, all of it came from God. And we can trust God with it and with our lives and everything because He cares for us.
He does?
Yes, He cares for each one of us and doesn't want us to be afraid, and He doesn't want us to be worried. And in this time when we're at home and we're confused, there's no school and there's no work, and moms and dads are stuck at home and boys and girls are stuck at home, a lot of us are worried and confused because we don't know what's going on. But here's what we can know. We can know that God has everything in control.
He does?
Yes, He has everything in control. And you don't have to be afraid, even of flying or a bully at school or the weather. You know, we had that bad tornado come through.
Oh, it was horrible.
It was. And now we have this virus thing. We don't have to worry about all those things because God cares for us. And even if we have to go through some of those things, He's there for us to give us strength to get through those things. And He's always there for us. And He lives right there. And He's wanting to be with you at all times. And you don't have to be afraid or worried about anything.
Well, that's pretty cool.
It is. And matter of fact, here in just a moment, we're going to talk about a fella in the Bible who learned what it was to conquer fear and the things of this world by the power of God. And I'm gonna put you back in your suitcase now.
I don't want to go back in the suitcase.
You have to go back in the suitcase because I'm gonna tell the story. Now come on, go back in the suitcase.
I don't want to go.
You gotta go in the suitcase. Come on,
I'm out of the suitcase.
get in the suitcase.
I'm out of the suitcase.
Get in the suitcase.
I don't want to.
Come on, get in there. Get in the suitcase.
I'm out of the suitcase.
I know you're in there. Get in there. All right. Stop it. Come on, quick.
Wait, what? It's dark in here.
I know it's dark in there. I'll turn the light on. There you go.
Roy,
What?
you know there ain't no light in this stinking suitcase.
All right, just get in there. I'll leave a crack in it.
Like that crack in your head.
That's it. Get in there.
Ew. 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 Ew.
I didn't hit it.
Don't use a gunner. Whee.
You know, God does love each one of us. He loves us so much. The Bible tells us in Matthew, it says this. It says, Matthew 6, it says, I tell you, do not worry about your life. Don't worry about having something to eat, drink, wear. Isn't life more than food or clothing? Look at the birds in the sky. They don't plant or harvest. They don't even store grain in barns. Yet your Father in heaven takes care of them. And aren't you worth more than the birds? It says, can worry make you live longer? Why worry about clothes? Look how the wildflowers grow. They don't work hard for their clothes. But I tell you, even Solomon, with all of his wealth and splendor, wasn't as well clothed as them. God gives such beauty to everything that grows in the fields, even though it is here today and thrown into the fire tomorrow. God will surely do even more for you. Have faith. It says, why have such little faith? Put your trust in Him. No matter what's going on, whether it's a tornado or the virus or struggles at school or any of these things, we can put our trust in God and know that He cares for us. Just like I said, He knows every hair on our head. He knows everything about us. And when we put our trust in Him, then we don't need to worry because we're loved by our Creator. If you remember, we were talking sometime back about a fellow with stones. Matter of fact, he had 5 little stones. They were kind of riverbed stones, maybe. It says he went and picked up those stones. Do you remember who that was? That's right, it was David. David had those little stones, and do you remember what he faced with those stones? That's right, a huge giant. He faced this great big giant with just little bitty stones. The giant came at him with a great big sword and a great big shield. And he said, you come against me with a little rock? I'm going to feed you to the birds of the air. And he had that big sword, he had that big shield. But you know what? David wasn't worried. David wasn't worried at all. Why? Because God was on his side. And God's on our side. Now, some may say that was the biggest giant David ever faced. But you know, I don't know that it was. It may have been the most physical big giant. But there was another foe that David faced. And that was fear. You see, the Bible tells us that God had chosen David to be king. But there was already a king. You know who that king was? It's King Saul. And King Saul didn't want David to be king. King Saul said, I'm king. David doesn't need to be king. You see, King Saul he quit following God. And God was looking for a king that would follow him and that would have a heart for him. So he decided that he would send little David, the same David that killed that giant, to be king. Well, Saul didn't like that idea, and the Bible tells us that Saul came after David. He came after David with a vengeance, and David ran for his life. The Bible tells us that he ran into the desert and lived in caves because King Saul was chasing him, and King Saul wanted to take his life. You see, King Saul had put it in his heart that he would be king even though God didn't want him to be. And he was chasing David. You know, if you had a big bully chasing you, would you be afraid? Yeah, I would too. But the Bible tells us that even though David ran, he still wasn't afraid of King Saul. Matter of fact, there was a time that King Saul came into the very cave where David was and his men. David snuck up behind him and cut a piece of his cloth off, a big cloth from his robe. And he came up to King Saul and said, look, I could have fought you and I could have killed you right then and there. but I'm not going to touch God's anointed. God's there for me, and he's there for you too. Well, even though the king had a chance to kill him right then and there, God saved David through that and through many other trials. When we put our trust in God, no matter how big the foe is, whether it's a giant or it's a king or it's a flu or a virus or a tornado or a bully at school or problems with mom and dad fighting or your brothers and your sisters fighting with you, no matter what our problems are, God is there for us. And we can trust in him just like David trusted to face the giant, just like David trusted to face King Saul. God is there for each one of us. He knows every hair on our head. He knows everything about us because he's our creator and he loves us so much more than even the birds of the air. And when we put our trust in him, then there's no need to worry because we know he's always in control. Thank you for being with me this morning. I hope you learned a little bit of something and I hope you had fun. Now also, we're going to include in today's message some downloads for maybe you and your mom and dad or brothers and sisters to talk about. A lot of take-home kind of stuff, some papers and stuff and crafts you can do at home. So watch for the link for that, and we'll see you next Sunday.